Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Mendte. Legalized recreational marijuana passed in New Jersey by a landslide, and they quickly passed legislation as well. There's a couple of hiccups, but Governor Phil Murphy is expected to sign it any day. But if you're expecting to buy legal pot in New Jersey sometime soon, think again. Here's Amanda Hoffman, board member of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana and a strong advocate for legalization. Amanda, thanks so much for doing this. Every time I read an article about marijuana legislation, your name is in the article somewhere. So congratulations on what happened so far. I know you've been a strong advocate for both medical marijuana and for recreational marijuana, but let's talk about timing. So here we are, the bills have passed. There's some details to be worked out. We'll get into that in a second. So when will people be able to go and buy recreational marijuana in New Jersey?
That's kind of a loaded question. I think the timing will be a couple of months out. You're dealing with an agricultural product. It takes time to plant, harvest, cure, and grow. And there's also a significant amount of investment that has to happen at these dispensaries to accommodate the larger volume of customers. So I would guess, 6 to 12 months if we're lucky.
So the bills have gone through. People overwhelmingly supported this, more so than in any other state in the union. And here we are now. We've gone through all these bills. They've worked out the money. They've worked out where it has to be grown and all of that. What are your concerns still?
I think a lot of people were voting not just for adult use legalization and access, but to stop the arrests, to stop arresting people for something that 2 states over, it's a tourism attraction. I think we need to immediately stop the arrests and lessen how many people we're going to have to go and expunge later. I think people are kind of tired on the war on cannabis and want to start legalization as a way to increase revenue instead of continually spending on prosecuting and imprisoning cannabis users for something that's about the same as alcohol.
I guess I was misinformed. I thought expungement and decriminalization was part of all this.
It is, but it's always the details that need to be worked out. And even if there's nowhere to legally purchase marijuana in New Jersey in January, it doesn't really make sense to continue arresting people for something that should be, able to be purchased in, just a couple months.
As I said before, the first time you were fighting for marijuana in New Jersey, it was for medical marijuana. I know that there were some problems in people being able to qualify for that. I know there was problems with dispensaries. Has that been dealt with?
Well, medical marijuana was deeply unpopular when it was passed. It's easy to forget that just 10 years ago, it was an untouchable topic. So our medical marijuana program in New Jersey had a lot of significant flaws to kind of address and compromise with the situation, because we're talking pre-Colorado legalization. People were still very afraid of what cannabis and even medical cannabis could mean. So the original plan was to have patients grow their own, to have patient collectives. All the home grow aspects were in the original bill in 2009, but were stripped out before it got to Corzine's desk for signature. And then after Corzine, Governor Christie was very hesitant with the medical marijuana program for many years, except after talking with activists such as Leo Bridgewater and helping to bridge some of the misunderstandings between what medical marijuana can actually be good for, things like, vets with PSD, people with anxiety. The original indications for the use of medical marijuana in New Jersey were very limited, and it was a very small patient population. Now with Governor Murphy, we've been able to expand the program and expand the indications and get more access to patients. On the flip side, our dispensaries haven't been able to keep up with this growing patient population.
Should we look at that, the fact that there are still problems with dispensaries for medical marijuana and they can't service all of the people that need it, and have some questions about what it's going to be like when we have recreational marijuana?
Well, that's part of the reason we've been talking a lot more about home grow opportunities. I think Declan O'Scanlan actually had proposed a home grow pilot for patients to allow patients to grow a certain number of plants at home and see how that works and take some of the pressure off the medical marijuana dispensary system. It's also been very hard during COVID to obtain medical marijuana. Some dispensaries have had to shut down temporarily. Patients are waiting in long lines. You're dealing with a patient population that also has a lot of immune compromised or cancer patients or other situations that it doesn't make sense for them to have to stand outside waiting. So things like home delivery were passed in Jake's Law last year, 2019, and still haven't been brought to fruition. I'd like to see some of those get in place before we open the gates to, adult use access, because patients really need this access. They need more affordable and accessible, convenient access. The hope, though, for my hope with adult use is that by having more customers, the overall cost of even medical marijuana will go down, because now you'll have companies that can use scale. They'll have a larger customer base and can see a better return on investment. However, the needs of patients are always going to be different than the needs of a recreational consumer. To make the kind of cannabis oil you need to work with cancer patients, you need about an ounce or 2 ounces a month, where an adult use purchaser might need an eighth. Also, the strains or cultivars are different. A lot of the high CBD or certain terpenoids or other cannabinoids in the plant that are beneficial for patient use might not be of interest to the average adult use consumer. And a lot of these dispensaries, if they're following a profit model, might discontinue strains that patients prefer in order to grow strains that are more general use.
Amanda, thank you so much for your time. And I hope to talk to you in the months to come as we see more dispensaries and we understand more about what's going to happen next year.
Thank you so much. Have a great 2021.
You too. Amanda Hoffman, board member of the New Jersey Coalition for Medical Marijuana. Still to come, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield is giving the state over $1 billion for a new law so they can restructure, but critics are suspicious of the deal. We'll talk about it next.